Okay, hello everyone. My name is Dominique Moore, and I am the Graduate Assistant for Career Development here at UConn Center for Career Development. And you all are here for the What Can I Do with the Major in Cognitive Science presentation. But I'm going to pass it over to my co-presenter, Margot, so she can introduce herself as well.
Hi, everyone. My name is Margot, and I'm an outreach and engagement intern for the Center for Career Development, and I also focus in CLIS like Dominique.
So getting into the content for today, just a brief overview. We'll be kind of talking about some of the skills of the goals of the department. Just in general, we'll talk a little bit more about experiential learning and what that looks like for this major, internships, post-grad options. And again, that's options, not you have to do these things. We'll talk a little bit about alumni, and then Margot will end us off with like a reflection piece so that you all can take something away from this session. So here we go.
Okay, so as we embark on this presentation, a guiding question to sort of think about and consider is, what does your major mean to you and why cognitive science? As we'll discuss, there are many, many different options, so it's really important to kind of consider what you personally are interested in, as there's not just one path.
And again, thinking about some of like the goals and the skills of the department, pulling some of this from the website, and then just in general, one of the major goals of the cognitive science major is really to bring together UConn scholars, whether that's professors and students from all across the field. So things like psychology, linguistics, logic, computer science, anthropology, philosophy, and all those different fields, so that the knowledge is becoming shared and the ideas are spread out. Also, another skill that students will have, just gaining a basic knowledge when thinking about experimental and theoretical foundations of cognitive science overall. And then also you all are building critical thinking skills, writing skills, and communication skills. And when thinking about that, those are some of your transferable skills. So again, when we get into the portion of the presentation where we talk about postgrad options, keep those transferable skills in mind that you all gain from being a cognitive science major.
Okay, so what is experiential learning? Experiential learning is hands-on practical experiences and learning that often provide the insight needed to determine if a major and/or career path is the one to consider. So experiential learnings can take many forms, and we'll discuss this in the next slides. Okay, so here are some of the most common types of experiential learning, starting with internships, which are a great opportunity to build your skills and a chance to see if it's actually something you want to do in the future. So this is a great way to try it out and also get that experience. And it's a great thing to reference as well in future job interviews. So this is a really common example that I think we're all pretty familiar with. Then there's also research. So if you have an interest, definitely explore more. As it says here, there are funding and conference opportunities available for student researchers. And being published is a really high accomplishment, especially in your undergrad experience. So definitely consider research. And something else to kind of pair with this is, if you are interested in research and you can't find like an official posting somewhere and you're feeling a little bit discouraged, you can always reach out to professors and see if they have any opportunities to take on students in their lab or in their research. Never hurts to ask. It can be a little bit intimidating sometimes, but definitely give it a shot if that's something that you're interested in. Another opportunity for experiential learning is study abroad. This is another great way to get involved on your own time and also gain credit for your experience. So listed below are some of the specific examples for cognitive science, but definitely keep in mind that there's so many different programs, and the ones listed below are not an exhaustive list. And on the same train of thought, these three examples are not an exhaustive list of experiential learning. They're just some of the common examples. So definitely keep that in mind, because volunteering, club and organization involvement, part-time work, those can all count as experiential learning as well. Okay, so focusing in on internships a little bit more, here are some questions to consider when you're pondering some different potential internships. So first of all, thinking if you want or need a paid opportunity, would you prefer virtual or in person? Should you explore gaining credit? So there's many different types of internships, including paid, unpaid, and for credit. So it's really good before you kind of dive into your search to kind of evaluate what you need and what's important to you with this. Some places to look are some different databases, such as Handshake, which we'll demonstrate in just a minute, which is a UConn specific database. So I definitely recommend checking that out. There's LinkedIn, many different career fairs, as Dominique will kind of discuss a little bit more in the upcoming slides. And also Google is a great starting place if you're really not sure where to start. It's always good to kind of find some keywords and then go from there. You can definitely just start with searching like cognitive science internship and see where that goes. But you will probably notice some key themes, and then you can kind of borrow those words and plug them into the different databases and see what you come up with. Okay, and then what to look for. So who's represented, supervision, professional development opportunities, and transferable skills you want to gain. So definitely thinking about like, what does leadership in this organization look like? What will check-ins with my supervisor look like? And asking those questions also during an interview is a good idea, just so that you get some ideas of what your time at this opportunity will look like. Okay, continued with more questions and things to consider. So here's the databases again, and then some keyword searches. So like I said, I'll show how to do this on Handshake in case you're unfamiliar, but paid internships, if that's something that matters to you, you can always start with that. Cognitive science, again, is a great starting place. And then if you want to look a little bit more broad, you can put humanities. And like I said, as you kind of hone in on what you're interested in, you can also do keyword searches like that. So for example, for myself, one of the keywords I would use was advocacy because I'm interested in advocacy related work. So that brought me a lot of different examples. But because cognitive science can be found in so many different careers, it's really important to think about what you're interested in instead of, having that whole holistic view. Okay, then action steps. So shopping around, there's always an opportunity. As we know, it can be really discouraging when you're looking and you can't really find anything. But that perseverance piece is really important, and just keep going and checking all these different places. And like I said, as you search, you will start to find some words that stick out and kind of go with that. Having a resume prepared is really important. On Handshake, for example, you can have your resume be viewable by potential employers. So I would recommend that to have it on there. And just always having it ready so that if you do find an opportunity, you're ready to just go straight to the interview stage and you don't have to stress about like putting your resume together at the last minute. So I definitely recommend doing our undergrad resume critiques with the center. Those have been super helpful to me in my internship searches. We'll also cover that a little bit more. And then also connecting with people on LinkedIn. It's never too early or too late to start building a network, and I highly recommend this. I think Dominique will cover this a little bit more, but it never hurts again to reach out and, ask a question. And LinkedIn is a great place to start doing that and getting a little bit more comfortable with sending people a message and meeting new people. Okay, so I will transfer us over to Handshake. Okay. So from here, this would be the main page, and you would go up to this tab at the top, which says jobs. Okay, and then I would select the internship option and go into here and type cognitive science. Okay, so as you can see, a couple different opportunities came up. The first one is a marketing internship. And under about the role, you'll usually find the deadline, when it was posted, if it allows remote work, if it's paid or unpaid, it will usually say that. There's an option here to save it, so you can come back to it later if you're doing kind of like a broad search and just saving a bunch of different options. You'll find a role description. So as you can see here, it says it's unpaid, and they have full-time and part-time options, a little bit about the company itself, and then you can click here to view the full description. So it'll give you more details about the role, some learning objectives, Okay, and then under all of this, their description is very extensive, which is great. So you can learn a lot about it. So here you can also see people who did work for this company, whether in like a part-time work, full-time work, or internship role. And you can send them a message. So you can see the different students at different universities who worked with this company and reach out to them and ask them about their experience, which is a very helpful tool just to kind of see, you know, how did they feel about it? How do they feel like this helped them move forward? Did this really refine their search for what they were interested in? It's great to hear from another student about how it went for them. And then you can also see here if you match their criteria, which is kind of helpful just as like a once over to see, you know, are they looking for my major? Am I the right school year? Although I would also recommend to always just read the description because sometimes this might be a little off, but this is a good starting place. If you're just trying to see if you match. Then on the left over here, you can see some more options. So this one is a remote option for the summer through the University of Michigan. And again, you can see if it's remote or not, when the deadline is, when it was posted. You can bookmark it, a little bit more about the role. And again, you can see these students here who did this experience. And like I said, you can always change out this word. So right now I just have cognitive science, but maybe when you're doing this, you realize that you're really interested in this marketing internship. So you could try marketing internship. You can also change your location with this location tab. So it's a great way to really like customize your search. And I would really recommend this since it is specific to UConn students. It's a great tool. So with that, I will transfer us over to Dominique.
Okay, so getting us back into it, we're now going to talk about post-grad options. And again, these are just options that you all have. So the Center for Career Development, we collect data every year from graduates and just kind of start to understand their paths, what they're currently doing, what fields they ended up going into, whether or not they went to grad school or still job searching. So the data that we have so far from the most current graduates at UConn who studied cognitive science are that they went into fields such as computer science, applied cognitive neuroscience, law, social work, and user experience design. Again, these are only some options, but if you're thinking about other options, some that you have, if you want to continue studying in this field, grad school. There's different master's programs all over, but programs like UConn, UMass Amherst, Stanford, and other programs. And when you're thinking about grad school, I really encourage you all to think about the costs, the locations, what you potentially want to do in the future, the transferable skills that you want to end up having, whether or not you want to take the GRE, funding, all of those different things go into grad school prep and searching. Other options, you can go into communications, you can go into advocacy, nonprofit work, and you could also go into anthropology. So as we were talking a little bit earlier, a lot of what you can do is honestly everything. It really depends on the transferable skills that you've gained over your time here at UConn. So if you were in this major, but you spent more time doing psychology stuff and working with the psychology department in those clubs, maybe that's the path because of the transferable skills that you have. But just think about whether or not, you have experience teaching, if you have research experience, if you have experience working with children and things like that. When you start to think about all the experiences that you've gained over the last few years that you've been at UConn, then you're able to figure out, okay, what's the best path for me? What do I have the qualifications for? Because you all are heavily qualified to do almost anything that you want in the field. So when thinking about some action steps for post-grad options, the first, I'm definitely going to encourage you all to talk to the Center for Career Development, to schedule a career coaching appointment, and we'll talk about what that looks like a little bit more later. We also encourage you all to talk to your professors and program directors. I personally love having informal interviews with people just because it gives you a little bit of insight of how they've navigated the fields and what steps they took to get to where they were. And whether it's, you want to be a faculty member or you're interested in something else that they've done during their time being in the field. Also, I encourage you all to participate in internship programs. And I think Margot did a great job talking about this earlier, but it's really an opportunity for you all to figure out what the right fit is for you. I know when I was an undergrad, I told some people last time, I really wanted to be a broadcast journalist when I grew up. That was like my big dream. And then when I had my own radio show for a year, I realized, okay, this is not for me. I do not want to do this full time. And that helped me to kind of switch career trajectories. So participating in internships, it's not a waste of time, even if you don't end up utilizing it, because I still utilize those public speaking skills and that creativity from that opportunity just in different ways than I thought I would have. Another opportunity for you all is to attend career fairs. We have some in the fall and in the spring, the big ones. We also have some of the smaller ones that are more so focused on certain majors. We have the CLAS career fair, so start thinking about those. We have career nights, internship and co-op fairs, grad school fairs, etc. And also talk to alumni. So we're about to get into that. I'm gonna let Margot kind of speak on what the benefits are of talking to alum.
Okay, so first off, you're able to connect with people close in age who potentially have a similar career interest and path. So like Dominique said, sometimes you have an idea of what you want to do and you don't really know if it's a fit for you until you try it out or until you talk to other people and kind of hear their experience. So I think it's great to be able to talk to people with similar experiences and see kind of where they ended up and how they did that. When I talk to alum, I always think this is very informative and it's really helpful to me. And it also really like opens your eyes to how many options there really are, and how you can get to so many different places from doing these different internships, part-time work, different opportunities through clubs. And people can tell you like, oh, I did this organization and it helped me determine that I was interested in this other thing. So definitely recommend that and just kind of seeing what other people are interested in and have done during their time at UConn. Similarly, for the second, they might have an internship or job opportunity that they want to tell you about. They might say, oh, yes, I did that internship, in my junior year and it really helped me with this. And, you should see if they're still hiring or I can, let you know how my experience was and stuff like that. And that's really informative. And so that's another reason why, it never hurts to ask and to try to find out, what other people did. And it can definitely inspire you with what you might not have even considered as an option. Like with the Handshake demo, like marketing is a potential option, psychology, like Dominique said, is another pathway. So there are so many. And I think hearing about specific people and their experiences kind of makes it more tangible. With the third, you're creating a support network while you're in the thick of school and application processes for job and internships. So as we know, this can really be an exhaustive experience. So it's nice to know that other people are kind of in the same boat with you and you can talk to them about how are they approaching this, did they carve out a specific time every week to do this? Did they kind of treat it like a weekly commitment? What was their approach? And then even just with that, they can kind of feel for you and what you're going through and share maybe how they kept their morale up and stuff like that. And for the fourth, informal and formal mentorship opportunities. So like we kind of talked about before, like reaching out through LinkedIn can be, a one-time question that you have about something specific that sort of stood out to you on their list of experience or something like that. Or you can sort of search for someone who you'd like to have a little bit more of a formal mentorship opportunity with. You can reach out and say, I'm very interested in this experience you had. This is where I am. I'm really wanting to learn more about your experience. Would you be open to meeting with me like once a month at this time? Or you can even say, 15 minutes, do you have 15 minutes this week that you could meet with me so we could talk, over Zoom or WebEx and just, I can ask you some more questions. So I definitely recommend that. Another thing with this is there are some more formal opportunities through CLAS. For example, I participated in the CLAS Women's Leadership Collective, and I highly recommend some of these more structured approaches as well. If you might be a little bit more nervous about reaching out, definitely recommend that. I learned so much, and I'm definitely very grateful for that experience. So I really, really encourage that. And just in general, trying to get more comfortable asking those questions. Another good technique for this is we do a lot of different events through the Center for Career Development that bring alumni back. And these alumni usually share their LinkedIn and say that they're open to questions. So that's another great way if you might be nervous about kind of sending out a message to someone you haven't talked to. You could always follow up with people who do these types of events and demonstrate your interest that way as well.
Thanks, Margot. So we just wanted to highlight some alum that we've looked at, and then I'm going to show you how to do your own alum search. So you have the first person who is a clinical research assistant at Connecticut Children's Medical Center, someone else who's a PhD student at Tufts, a development associate at a KIPP school, and then an assistant director of Greek affairs at a university. So again, your career path doesn't have to be as specific into cognitive science as you think it has to be. There are other ways to really go into the field and branch off into other parts of the field, because cognitive science, as Margot said earlier, is kind of seen in almost every field that you can think of. So some of the best tools, and Margot already talked about, Husky Mentor Network and LinkedIn a little bit, but some of the best tools that we have for finding alum are LinkedIn and Husky Mentor Network. So I'm going to quickly demo how to do a LinkedIn search. So when you're on the LinkedIn page, you're going to search up the University of Connecticut specifically. And then over here, we see home, my employer, all that good stuff. You're going to want to click alumni. So as you're in there, it's first going to just give you all of the alum that are registered from UConn, whether it's grad or undergrad, just in general. And it's going to give you a timeline that's like everyone. So if you want to be specific to cognitive science, so you see how that number drastically went down. So now we're down to 452 alum. And even if you want to be more specific, if you want to talk to people who are in New York City specifically, who are in LA specifically, who work at UConn still, who work at IBM specifically, there are other ways for you to get even more specific with your search. But as you're on here, I'm probably going to go from 2000 to 2017. And again, it brought me down just a little bit further, and that's okay. In here, you have people who are psychologists, clinical researcher, a clinical research assistant, still students, a grad student, a speech language pathologist. So when you're in here, you're really getting a broad view of all of the people who have had this major, and this is where you can start connecting. And if you're interested in connecting with alum and you're a little bit nervous about what to say, again, really just reach out and send a quick message. I really encourage knowing exactly what you want from a person. So let's say I'm interested in being a software engineer. This person may be the best person that I can reach out to. Hi, my name is Dominique. I'm a current UConn cognitive science student, and I see that you have experience with software engineering. That's something that I'm also interested in. Can we set up a time to chat? Or if you're specifically interested in the company, just tailoring in that a little bit more. Or if you want a mentor, tailoring that a little bit more. And as Margot said, if you're a little bit nervous about that, again, Husky Mentor Network is a platform that's specifically for people who have signed up to be mentors for students like you all. So that's a better way to bridge the gap if you're a little bit nervous, but I highly recommend reaching out on LinkedIn and going from there. So let me get back into the presentation. So thinking about some more of the resources, again, we do have one-on-one career coaching appointments. And what that looks like, you're going to go into Handshake and schedule a coaching appointment for whatever date and time works for you. Normally they're 30 minutes. And that's time for you to talk about anything, job search prep, that you want to discuss, grad school that you want to discuss, interviews that you want to talk about, looking for internships, choosing an internship, all of those different things, we can have that time during that appointment. Also thinking about, is this major actually right for me? Or what else can I do with this major? If you want to have that one-on-one time with the career coach, that would be a great opportunity. The Center for Career Development also has resume, cover letter, personal statement reviews during the school year, whenever you all kind of want, just so you can always be on your toes and ready for any type of opportunity that comes your way. Again, grad school preparation, whether that's a career coaching appointment or one of our career fairs or grad school fairs. Social, special networking and alumni events. Sometimes we do bring in alum from specific majors, from specific departments, so like CLAS, things like that, for you all to learn from them. Again, the bigger career fairs and even like certificate sessions.
Okay, so a final call to action to consider is, as you continue to choose your classes for your degree, think about what you really want out of cognitive science. As we've discussed, this major can be found in almost any career, so definitely, like we've discussed, thinking about what's important to you. And something I'll add to this is that having multiple interests is a strength. This is something I talked about before, but it can be a little bit discouraging sometimes when you see other people like picking one specific thing, and it can be overwhelming if you haven't found, your one specific thing yet. So I definitely recommend, if you are interested in more than one thing, like we've discussed, whether that's different career paths or different academic fields, try to consider how you can bring them all together. Maybe it's doing a major and a minor, some kind of combination, or thinking about how you're going to combine different clubs and organizations with different internships. If you have an interest for work, maybe you're going to volunteer in a different capacity. So just thinking about all the different combinations that are possible, and not limiting yourself to really just having to make one choice. And with that, we will open for any questions, so feel free to drop them in the chat. You can also feel free to unmute if you're comfortable doing so, but we're here to answer any questions that you have.